Hi everybody! In this video, we are going to talk about word problems that involve system of equations. So at the end of the video, I want you guys to be able to write a system of equations based on a word problem. Then I want you to be able to solve it and then interpret what it means in context of your problem. So we're going to get an answer, and I want you guys to know what the answer means in context of that word problem. Okay, so when we're solving system of word problems, here are a few tips that I like to use. First, I like to define the variables, what we're talking about. Then we need to write two equations. Choose a method, substitution or elimination. You can choose either. Solve for each variable. Then label your solutions, because remember when we're talking about word problems, we got to label our solutions. And y'all, here is the biggest thing when we're solving word problems. Check your answers. If you're solving a word problem and you find that the father's age is 1 and the baby's age is 27, we might need to go back and check our work because that does not make sense in context of our problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and read this one together and then we'll see how to write some equations. The Donald family and the Mickey family, you'll see what I did there, are seeing a movie together in the theater. At the concession stand, Mr. Donald paid $26 for 3 large popcorns and 2 large drinks that his family will share. Mr. Mickey bought 1 large popcorn and 2 large drinks and paid $14, and they're asking us to find how much did each item cost. So first we need to define our variables. Usually it'll say it in the end of the question what they're looking for, and that's a good indication to say what your variables are going to represent. So here, they're talking about popcorn and they're talking about drinks. So I'm going to label popcorn as P and drinks as D. Again, they asked how much does each item cost? Well, the 2 items we're talking about was popcorn and drinks. So again, that's why I labeled them as my variables. Second, we got to write 2 equations. So here's where we're going to have to dissect each of those sentences. So it first says Mr. Donald paid $26 for 3 large popcorns and 2 large drinks. So I'm going to write that equation as $26 is equal to 3 times however much popcorn costs, which we don't know, plus 2 times whatever the drinks cost. Again, I don't know. And then now we got to write that second equation. 1 large popcorn and 2 large drinks, and we paid $14. So I'm going to say that P plus 2D is equal to 14. It doesn't matter what order you write it in. You could say 14 is equal to P plus 2D. Doesn't matter. So now that we have our 2 equations, now we're going to actually have to solve them using substitution or elimination. Here, you could use either. I see that since P has a coefficient of 1, I'm just going to move that 2D to the other side because it would really be easier to plug it in. Again, you could use whatever method you want. If you wanted to use elimination, you could eliminate the D's and that would be pretty simple as well. But I'm going to use substitution because I like substitution. So I'm going to take P is equal to negative 2D plus 14. Again, just solving for P. And I'm going to take that P and plug it into the other equation for this P right here. So I get this equation. Go ahead and distribute that 3. So I get 26 is equal to negative 6D plus 42 plus 2D. Combine your like terms on that right side. So when you're combining your like terms, remember, you were just saying negative 6 plus 2 gives you a negative 4D. Move all your numbers to the other side, so subtract this 42. Then divide by a negative 4 to get D completely by itself. So now I know that the drinks are equal to $4. Super cool. Now I can take that D and plug it into any of the other equations. So I'm going to say, since I already have P alone here, I'm going to take 4 and plug it in for D in this equation. Go ahead and solve that guy. And I get that P is equal to 6. Now, step 5 is to label it. Remember, when we're talking about word problems, we need to label our solutions. So D stood for drinks and P stood for popcorn. So make sure you label them accordingly. And then lastly, check your answers. I didn't get a negative number. I didn't get like $500. So that to me seems pretty reasonable. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next problem. Okay. So we got one more example. So if y'all need to take a little break, pause me, get up, move around. But here's our last example. Ooh, trying to not move myself around. Okay, so the perimeter of a TV is 88 inches. If the length is 4 less than 3 times the width, what are the dimensions of the TV? So sometimes they're going to ask you kind of like geometry questions that talk about perimeter or maybe area. Remember, if they ever ask for area, it is length times width. But for perimeter, remember, we're just adding up all of those sides. So when they're talking about some type of geometry word problem, go ahead and draw a picture. It's going to make your life way easier. So we know the perimeter is 88 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and label the length and the width on my rectangle and say that when I add up all those sides, it better equal 88. Now they tell us something about the length. It says the length is 4 less than 3 times the width. So here, 3 is 4 less than, remember than, you take 4 less and put it at the end of your expression. So 4 less would be minus 4. And then 3 times the width, well, we don't know what the width is, so I'm just going to keep it as a W and say that is 3W. So overall, I have now an equation for my length. It is 3W minus 4. And like I said before, we know that the perimeter is just adding up all the sides. So that's L plus W plus L plus W. Or we can use this formula here that says 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So that kind of makes it a little bit less like long. It's not like super long, but you can use the other way as well. So I have L by itself. So I'm like, hey, I could use substitution here. Go ahead and take L and plug it into this formula. I know that the perimeter is equal to 88, so I can plug that in as well. Once you have that plugged in, you can use substitution. Go ahead and substitute that too. Combine your like terms on this side. We have 6 W's plus 2 more gives us 8 W's. Move the 8 to the other side by adding it, and then divide by 8. We know the width is 12, so that's cool because now I can take 12 and plug it into this equation here wherever I see W. So I get 3 times 12 minus 4, which gives me a length of 32. And last but not least, I need to write my dimensions. They told me that we are talking about inches, so just make sure that you label your answer. If you wanted to tell me length equals 32 inches and width equals 12 inches, that totally works too. And we do a quick check. We're like, yep, that seems pretty reasonable. We didn't get a negative. We didn't get like a fraction. We didn't get like a really big number. So that looks good to me. All right. If you guys have questions, come see me. I know sometimes these take a few extra times to get it. No worries. If you don't have any questions, I will see you guys next time.